So many people struggle to differentiate between their identity and the possessions, objects that they own. Who they are and what they have are one and the same. And there is a remarkable comment of Rabbi Samson Raphael Hirsch, and a most unusual comment at the end of Parashat Mattot, which is often overlooked, which I think goes to the heart of what it means for us as Jews, our very identity, destiny, and the legacy we want to leave. You see, Parashat Mattot ends with the acquisition of land and the naming of these lands by two individuals, one more famous, one less. The more famous one is Yair, from the tribe of Manasseh. On the other side of the Jordan, where the half of the tribe of Manasseh went, it says on Avery Yarden, he purchased land and he called it Chavot Yair, the farmlands of Yair. There was another individual, the last pasuk in the parasha of Mattot says, there was somebody called Novach, and Novach also purchased land. He conquered a city by the name of Knat, and he called Knat and its environs Novach. He named it after himself. Rashi points out, and Rabbi Samson Raphael Hirsch develops the idea based on the Midrash. In the Midrash Rabbah, says a remarkable thing. What was the name that Yair gave to his farmlands? Chavot Yair, the farmlands of Yair. Yair is here, and Yair owns farmlands. They are separate. They're not part of my very identity. What was the name that Novach gave to his property? Novach. He simply called it after himself. Says the Midrash, no distinction between his own identity and that of the land. And that is why, remarkably points out the Midrash, and Rashi brings it, is that for generations, we know Chavot Yair is still known today. Hundreds of years later, in the times of the Shoftim, there was Chavot Yair, it's mentioned. There's a little village in the Shomron today called Chavot Yair. There's the famous responsa of Rabbi Yair Bachrat from 350 years ago, known as Shut Chavot Yair. The name exists until today. Where is Novach? What's named after Novach? Says Rav Shimshon Rav Hirsch, based on the Midrash, that within a few generations the name was forgotten. It didn't sustain itself. And he says, you actually see from the Dikduk, when it says, the word says that when he called La, it says Vayikra La, he called the city La, he called her. It should have had a mapike, it should have had a dot in it. From a Dikduk point of view, means affiliation and ownership. It didn't even have that because it got forgotten for generations. And I want to say in conclusion, such a powerful thing we learned from this is Rabbi Hirsch. It's some musar. He said, when we cannot distinguish between the objects that we own, the possessions that we have, however important they are, if these material acquisitions, earthly acquisitions, are part of our very identity, that we cannot separate our spirit and essence from them, we have to know that they will not maintain itself. And no matter how much we want to perpetuate our memory and our legacy through these things, they will be forgotten. But when everything in our lives, our identity, our lives are built on our spiritual essence, things maintain themselves. And I want to say in conclusion, really, that's maybe what Corona has taught us with all of the challenges. Corona has stripped so many of us of our holiday destinations, of going to places and locations and activities, and even acquisitions, consumerism that have become so much part of our lives. It's forced us to go back to our core identity, to who we are as individuals, independent from our doings and acquisitions, our families, our home. And may this time, the difficult time of the 3 weeks, but the challenging time of Corona, bring us back in the spirit of Chavot Yair, to separate from these things, to know who we are, and to build our identity, destiny, and legacy built on the deepest moral and spiritual principles. Shabbat Shalom.